muttered Hortense. "The same day on which that man—" "And it was on the Saturday that a woman was carried off by him at Le Havre. I looked in at the Compagnie Transatlantique, and a brief investigation showed that Rose Andrée had booked a cabin, but that the cabin remained unoccupied. The passenger did not turn up." "This is frightful! She has been carried off! You were right!" "I fear so." "What have you decided to do?" "Adolphe, my chauffeur, is outside with the car. Let us go to Le Havre. Up to the present, Rose Andrée's disappearance does not seem to have become known. Before it does, and before the police identify the woman carried off by Dalbrèque with the woman who did not turn up to claim her cabin, we will get on Rose Andrée's track." There was not much said on the journey. At 4 o'clock, Hortense and Rénine reached Rouen. But here Rénine changed his road. "Adolphe, take the left bank of the Seine." He unfolded the motoring map on his knees and, tracing the route with his finger, showed Hortense that, if you draw a line from Le Havre, or rather from Quillebeuf, where the road crosses the Seine, to Dreux, where the stolen car was found, this line passes through Routot, a market town lying west of the forest of Brotonne. "Now, it was in the forest of Brotonne," he continued, "according to what I heard, that the second part of The Happy Princess was filmed. And the question that arises is this: having got hold of Rose Andrée, would it not occur to Dalbrèque, when passing near the forest on the Saturday night, to hide his prey there, while his two accomplices went on to Dreux and from there returned to Paris? The cave was quite near. Was he not bound to go to it? How should he do otherwise? Wasn't it while running to this cave, a few months ago, that he held in his arms, against his breast, within reach of his lips, the woman whom he loved and whom he was now conquered? By every rule of fate and logic, the adventure is being repeated all over again, but this time in reality. Rose Andrée is a captive. There is no hope of rescue. The forest is vast and lonely. That night, or on one of the following nights, Rose Andrée must surrender or die." Hortense gave a shudder. "We shall be too late. Besides, you don't suppose that he's keeping her a prisoner?" "Certainly not. The place I have in mind is at a crossroads and is not a safe retreat. But we may discover some clue or other." The shades of night were falling from the tall trees when they entered the ancient forest of Brotonne, full of Roman remains and medieval relics. Rénine knew the forest well, and remembered that near a famous oak known as the Wine Cask there was a cave, which must be the cave of the Happy Princess. He found it easily, switched on his electric torch, rummaged in the dark corners, and brought Hortense back to the entrance. "There's nothing inside," he said, "but here is the evidence which I was looking for." Dalbrèque was obsessed by the recollection of the film, but so was Rose Andrée. The Happy Princess had broken off the tips of the branches on the way through the forest. Rose Andrée has managed to break off some to the right of this opening, in the hope that she would be discovered as on the first occasion. "Yes," said Hortense, "it's a proof that she has been there, but the proof is 3 weeks old. Since that time—" "Since that time, she is either dead and buried under a heap of leaves, or else alive in some hole even lonelier than this." "If so, where is he?" Rénine pricked up his ears. Repeated blows of the axe were sounding from some distance, no doubt coming from a part of the forest that was being cleared. "He?" said Rénine. "I wonder whether he may not have continued to behave under the influence of the film, and whether the man of the woods in The Happy Princess has not quite naturally resumed his calling. For how is the man to live, to obtain his food, without attracting attention? He will have found a job." "We can't make sure of that." "We might, by questioning the woodcutters whom we can hear." The cart took them by a forest road to another crossroads, where they entered on foot a track which was deeply rutted by wagon wheels. The sound of axes ceased. After walking for a quarter of an hour, they met a dozen men who, having finished work for the day, were returning to the villages nearby. "Will this path take us to Routot?" asked Rénine, in order to open a conversation with them. "No, you're turning your backs on it," said one of the men gruffly, and he went on, accompanied by his mates. Hortense and Rénine stood rooted to the spot. They had recognized the butler. His cheeks and chin were shaved, but his upper lip was covered by a black moustache, evidently dyed. The eyebrows no longer met and were reduced to normal dimensions. Chapter 5.